Welcome back to another video, and today is super special as I am bringing you along with me into my sketchbook. I have been feeling the vibes of summer as we're reaching the peak of summertime here in the Texas area, and I have to say that my nephew has deeply inspired the painting that we are going to do together today, and that is a shark. My nephew is 5 and he has become super interested in sharks, reading about them, learning all about them, just so obsessed. And I absolutely love when kids find things that they are super interested in and love, like if you caught my last video of my dinosaur painting that I ruined and tried to fix by playing. I actually love how it turned out. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you give that a quick watch after this video. So my two boys have been super into dinos, so I did a fun little dino painting last week, and this week I just really wanted to capture the inspiration that my nephew has been giving me, tying it into summer, and I wanted to take a very fun and silly spin on a shark. Because we all know sharks live in the water, breathe in the water, and need the water, I thought it would be so fun to add a little bit of a twist by putting a shark in some swim trunks and giving him some floaties. I was really happy with the sketch that I had already laid out before starting to record. I thought it was just fun and silly, very simple, and I knew I didn't want to add in too much detail because I wanted to let the color sort of speak for itself. When I was deciding on the background color, I was really unsure if I wanted to do blue because I feel like that's a little bit typical considering that sharks would be in water. I feel like it's very obvious to sort of consider them being in a blue surrounding, but I figured I would try to spice it up a little bit at the end and just was gonna go with my gut. So I decided to take two different tones of blues, one a little bit lighter, one a little bit darker, mix them in together. I really like to do that because I feel like as the brush starts to dry out, you can start to get different tones and different strokes with both paints in them, and I think that it gives it a really nice texture and also very cool visual interest. I also decided to just grab a flat brush so I could really be sharp with my edges around the shark, and I also just liked how the stroke would look with the flat top brush. So I didn't do anything very clean, nothing super specific. The only thing that I really wanted to make sure was that I didn't really get too much paint or any at that fact on the shark itself. I just wanted to really try to focus on outlining the shark and getting the complete surrounding area covered in this blue paint. There's something so relaxing about using gouache in this manner, and I have just come to love gouache so much because, like I've said in other videos, it just mimics the whole feeling of actually painting with oils, which I think is just so nice. So now that I got the whole backdrop in, I started filling in the shark, and I went in with some gray and some teal, lightened up the gray a little bit, but really tried to get a lot of different dimension. Once I got a decent color going on the shark, I went in and wanted to be very bold with the floaties. So I went in with a very bright orange, and then I did some line work with a little bit of more of a red-orange tone. To add even more depth to the shorts and to the floaties, I decided to kind of squiggle in some yellow in between the line work, and it really just brought out that detail of the stripes a lot. You can also see that I added in the face, I added in some shadows with more of that teal texture, I added in the gills, I think that they're called, on the side of the shark, and just really tried to add in the highlights and lowlights all throughout, especially with the fin and on the underbelly. When you look at the underbelly of a shark, it is just they're just very two-tone, and I think with painting sometimes, especially with this, it being more of an illustration, I wanted to just add in that texture, very similar to how I did with my duck paintings if you didn't see a couple weeks back. I just really enjoy building upon the layers with lines, with texture, and with different color. And that is why I think gouache is just so fun and so forgiving, because there's so much that you can do and experiment with in terms of just the consistency and even the color flow that you can actually get from using it versus wet and dry. It's just really cool. Now for the background, since the back was very messy and very textured with all of the stroke marks that you can see, I really do enjoy that, but I just wanted to add something a little bit extra, and I thought what better than to kind of emulate the shapes that waves can make and just really let a pattern form coming out of the shark. And this part was so relaxing. It was very nice. I just kind of zoned out and flowed through, and I really loved how it just all started coming together. I don't know that you would necessarily think wave automatically, but I think it does give a nice depth. It gives a lot of interest, and it definitely mutes all of the stroke work that's in the background, which I actually think ends up being really nice, because then you can focus and see more of the different lines and strokes on the shark itself, especially on the belly and on the fins. So I think overall it's turning out really well. I really enjoyed this whole process, and it was so fun to do an actual little silly illustration like this, where you're just kind of taking a common thing and make it very uncommon. And that is one of the best parts about art and artwork. It's not just that it's so subjective, but it's how much fun that you can actually have with it. It's that you can actually be silly and use your imagination to create something like this. So this is not the final product, but this is what I got done in the time being. For this week's video, I will continue filling in the rest of the wave pattern, but this is how it looks so far, and I actually like it. Might consider keeping it a little undone. But thank you so much for watching and tuning in on my short, fun, and silly gouache painting in my sketchbook. I will see you guys next week.